What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let's get right into it. UFC has officially shut down talk of a Rafael Fiziev versus Charles Oliveira BMF title fight, despite Fiziev's vocal push for the matchup following his impressive win over Manuel Torres. According to reputable MMA outlet Submission Radio, the promotion believes Fiziev still needs to string together a couple more victories before he earns another shot at the lightweight elite. That means a clash with a top 5 opponent like Oliveira remains off the table for the foreseeable future, a frustrating setback for a fighter who hoped his latest performance would catapult him straight back into title contention. Beyond the matchmaking news, Fiziev also opened up about the mental hurdles of his comeback. He revealed that watching Justin Gaethje defeat Ilia Topuria had a profound personal impact on him. After suffering back-to-back losses to Gaethje himself, Fiziev admitted he had lost belief in his own abilities. But seeing Gaethje deliver that performance against Topuria reignited his confidence and reminded him that anything is achievable at the highest level of the sport. Addressing the BMF call-out directly, sources close to the matter explained that it simply isn't happening right now. Fiziev is seen as needing a couple more wins first. There's also the matter of Oliveira's own trajectory after his fight with Max Holloway. Many believe Oliveira would simply look to take a striker like Fiziev down and control him on the mat. Still, plenty of compelling options exist for Fiziev within the lightweight division, including several veteran names that would make sense stylistically and from a ranking standpoint. When asked who should be next for Fiziev, analysts pointed to a few possibilities. One name floated was an opponent in a similar career stage, someone not too much older, given Fiziev is only 33 and still has time to climb back up. Another suggestion was a surging contender who has recently entered the rankings, making for a logical step-up fight. There's also been talk of a rematch with a previous opponent, since their first encounter ended prematurely due to what many considered a fluke injury, leaving that rivalry as unfinished business. Before we continue, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all our latest content. Moving on to another news. Khamzat Chimaev's team has provided a significant update on the long-discussed rematch with Sean Strickland, and it appears the fight could materialize much sooner than many fans anticipate. Following his loss of the middleweight title, UFC President Dana White had previously revealed that Chimaev expressed intentions to move up to light heavyweight, suggesting the former champion was looking to test himself in a new division rather than immediately pursue revenge. However, according to the latest statements from Chimaev's camp, those plans appear to have shifted. The focus has reportedly turned back toward middleweight, with securing another opportunity against Strickland now positioned as the priority. Speaking with Russian outlet Low Kick MMA, representatives for Chimaev confirmed that a formal rematch offer has already been submitted to both the UFC and Strickland's team. The team stated they have officially put forward the proposal and are now simply waiting on confirmation of an exact date and location for the bout. This suggests negotiations are further along than many had assumed, with the framework for the fight reportedly already in motion behind the scenes. At this stage, the decision on whether to accept now rests largely with Strickland and his side. Sources following the situation expect that, if all parties move forward as planned, this rematch could realistically take place before the end of the year, giving fans a quicker turnaround than initially expected, given the earlier light heavyweight rumors. Should the fight be finalized, it would carry major stakes for the middleweight division. A second meeting between Chimaev and Strickland would not only settle unfinished business from their first encounter, but could also have direct implications for the title picture, depending on how the championship landscape develops in the coming months. Many fans and analysts view this as one of the most anticipated potential rematches in the division, given the storylines and intensity surrounding their previous clash, and renewed interest from both camps suggests momentum is building toward making it official sooner rather than later. Moving on to another news. Michael Bisping has weighed in on the news that Khamzat Chimaev is putting his planned move to light heavyweight on hold, at least for now, in order to pursue a rematch with Sean Strickland. As things stand, all eyes turn to Strickland and whether he accepts what could become one of the biggest rematches of the year. According to Bisping, Chimaev's motivation makes complete sense from a fighter's perspective. He explained that no competitor wants to leave a loss like that sitting on their record for the world to remember, and Chimaev certainly doesn't want to be perceived as someone who fled to a new weight class simply because he couldn't get past Strickland. Bisping emphasized that for a man who has dedicated his entire life to fighting and prides himself on his ability in the cage, a result like that inevitably stings, and the natural instinct is to want to settle the score. That said, Bisping was careful to point out that the original fight itself was far closer than some narratives suggest. He noted that despite the outcome, it was a genuinely competitive contest decided by split decision, and he personally felt it could have reasonably gone either way. Opinions remain split among fans and and analysts, with plenty believing Chimaev did enough to win and plenty believing Strickland deserved the nod. Bisping highlighted that much of the debate comes down to how one weighs volume versus significance, comparing Strickland's jabs and lighter connections against Chimaev's heavier shots. He also addressed the grappling aspect, acknowledging that while Chimaev secured early takedowns in the first round, he wasn't able to capitalize on that positioning with meaningful damage. Notably, those takedowns dried up as the fight progressed, with Bisping pointing out that Chimaev appeared to fade physically by the end of the second round. Ultimately, Bisping placed the responsibility for that decline squarely on Chimaev himself, suggesting that conditioning and execution, not bad luck, were the deciding factors in how the fight slipped away. Moving on to another news. UFC welterweight champion Islam Makhachev has expanded his ventures beyond the octagon with the launch of his own padel business, marking a new chapter in his career outside of competitive fighting. The project represents a significant personal investment, with reports indicating that Makhachev has already put more than $600,000 into the venture so far. The launch highlights a growing trend among elite athletes diversifying their portfolios into lifestyle and sports-adjacent industries, and padel, one of the fastest-growing racket sports globally, appears to be a fitting choice given its surging popularity in recent years. Makhachev's decision to invest heavily in building out his own club suggests a long-term commitment to the business rather than a passing side project, signaling confidence in the sport's continued growth and his desire to establish a lasting brand beyond his championship legacy. Beyond the business side of the announcement, the opening of Makhachev's new padel club also produced a genuinely heartwarming moment. During the event, the champion was seen taking time to personally interact with a young disabled fan, offering an encouraging and warm exchange that resonated with those in attendance. Moments like these continue to showcase a side of Makhachev that extends well beyond his dominance inside the cage, reinforcing his reputation as someone who values connecting with fans on a personal level. Interestingly, Makhachev wasn't the only prominent UFC figure involved in a similar gesture that day. Conor McGregor was also spotted engaging positively with a disabled fan, creating another memorable moment during the festivities. The presence of both fighters added extra significance to the occasion, drawing attention not just to the business launch itself, but also to the genuine community engagement on display. Together, these moments paint a picture of athletes using their platforms for more than just competition, whether through entrepreneurial pursuits like Makhachev's new padel club, or through small but meaningful interactions with fans. As Makhachev continues to balance his championship responsibilities with this business venture, many will be watching closely to see how it develops alongside his ongoing UFC career. Moving on to another news. Veteran referee Herb Dean is facing mounting scrutiny following a third consecutive event marked by controversial officiating decisions, reigniting debate over consistency in how fouls are penalized inside the octagon. The most recent incident occurred during the fight between Shahara Magomedov and Michel Pereira, where Dean issued multiple warnings for hair pulling and an eye poke, but ultimately declined to deduct a point from the offending fighter. That decision has since drawn significant criticism, with many suggesting the lack of a point deduction may have influenced the final unanimous decision and potentially altered the outcome of the bout. This controversy follows closely on the heels of another disputed moment less than a month earlier at a UFC event, where Dean allowed what appeared to be illegal strikes to the head during a bout involving Cyril Gane and Tom Aspinall. That incident sparked widespread debate among fans and analysts, and Aspinall himself publicly criticized the officiating in the aftermath. Taken together, these back-to-back situations have fueled growing concerns about inconsistency in Dean's enforcement of fouls, particularly when it comes to deciding when a point deduction is warranted after repeated infractions. Amid the criticism, a clip has resurfaced online in which Dean personally explains the criteria referees use when determining whether to take a point from a fighter. In the clip, Dean acknowledges that rules prohibiting actions, like extending fingers toward the eyes, have long been in place, but admits enforcement has historically been inconsistent. He explains that point deductions have traditionally been applied reactively, primarily in response to visible damage or a clear shift in the balance of the fight caused by a foul, since that has been the standard method for restoring fairness. However, Dean suggests that for genuinely dangerous fouls, officials may need to shift toward a more proactive approach, deducting points the moment a dangerous action occurs, rather than waiting for it to cause serious harm. He also raises a deeper issue with the rulebook itself, noting that MMA's structure as a one-point scoring system makes deductions especially consequential, since taking even a single point can turn what would otherwise be a decisive win into a draw. Dean further criticized the distinction between unintentional and intentional fouls as one of the weakest aspects of the current rules, arguing that it essentially forces officials to guess a fighter's intent in real time. Moving on to another news. UFC President Dana White has chosen to remain neutral amid the escalating controversy surrounding referee Herb Dean and former champion Alex Pereira, declining to take a definitive side in the dispute despite mounting public pressure. The controversy intensified following UFC Baku when Pereira publicly shared a petition calling for Dean's removal from officiating UFC events. The petition reflects growing frustration from Pereira and segments of the fan base over what many perceive as inconsistent enforcement of fouls, particularly in high-stakes bouts where Dean's decisions have come under fire in recent weeks. Addressing the situation during a Sunday press conference tied to the promotion's boxing division, White made it clear that he does not see it as his role to publicly evaluate or criticize individual referees. He explained that judging officiating performance falls outside his responsibilities as UFC president, stating that any potential consequences or disciplinary action regarding Dean's conduct would ultimately be up to the relevant athletic commission, not the UFC itself. White did confirm that he is aware of Pereira's petition and the broader conversation it has sparked among fans and fighters. Despite acknowledging the situation, he carefully avoided either endorsing or dismissing the campaign, instead maintaining a neutral, hands-off stance. This approach is consistent with how the UFC has historically handled officiating controversies, generally deferring to athletic commissions, which have the authority to oversee referees and judges in mixed martial arts competition. White's measured response comes at a time when scrutiny of Dean's officiating has reached a notable peak, following a string of controversial calls across multiple events that have drawn criticism from fighters, fans, and analysts alike. By declining to weigh in directly, White appears intent on avoiding the perception of undermining commission authority or setting a precedent for the promotion intervening in officiating matters. As the petition continues to circulate and gain traction online, attention will likely shift toward how athletic commissions respond to the growing public pressure. Whether that leads to any formal review of Dean's future officiating assignments remains to be seen, but the situation highlights the increasing level of scrutiny referees face in high-profile fights, where split-second decisions can have a major impact on the outcome. Moving on to another news. Heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall has officially joined the growing wave of criticism directed at veteran referee Herb Dean, becoming the latest high-profile fighter to publicly voice frustration over the state of officiating in the sport. Aspinall's comments came after another weekend of controversial decisions inside the octagon, where what many viewed as blatant fouls went completely unpunished. Frustrated by what he witnessed, Aspinall took to social media to share his thoughts, delivering a pointed critique of the current state of refereeing standards. In his statement, he argued that MMA effectively no longer has enforceable rules, suggesting that what exists on paper has become little more than a set of loose suggestions rather than standards that are consistently applied during fights. The champion's remarks add significant weight to the mounting criticism Dean has faced in recent weeks, given Aspinall's standing as one of the UFC's marquee title holders. His willingness to speak out publicly signals that frustration over inconsistent officiating is no longer confined to fans and analysts, but has now reached the highest levels of the roster, with reigning champions themselves questioning whether the rules are being properly enforced during high-stakes contests. Aspinall's criticism arrives amid an already heated controversy involving Alex Pereira, who remains visibly frustrated over Dean's handling of recent officiating decisions. Pereira has been vocal in expressing his displeasure, having previously taken to social media and even shared a petition calling for Dean's removal from officiating UFC events. The continued fallout from that situation appears to have created a ripple effect, encouraging other fighters like Aspinall to speak out about broader concerns regarding officiating consistency across multiple recent events. Together, these statements paint a picture of a sport at a crossroads when it comes to enforcement standards, with some of its biggest stars now openly questioning whether referees are adequately protecting fighters and ensuring fair outcomes. As criticism continues to mount from multiple corners of the roster, pressure appears to be building on both the UFC and the relevant athletic commissions to address these concerns. Whether this leads to meaningful changes in how fouls are penalized or simply fades as the news cycle moves on remains to be seen, but the conversation shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon.